Hi all, welcome to the CA classroom. Today let's discuss Unit 4 of the Indian Contract Act in your CA foundation, talking about performance of a contract. What do you mean by this? Let's say X and Y enter into a contract where X is saying he will supply 100 kgs of rice to Y within 2 months. And after supplying rice, Y is saying he will make the payment for the same. So this is a contract which has been entered. We have discussed what is agreement, what is essential elements, and then we have discussed how agreement plus essential elements become a valid contract. After contract is arisen, what is the obligation of X and Y? What is the obligation of X and Y? They have to perform the contract. And how to perform the contract? Actual performance is X going and actually delivering the 100 kgs of rice to Y. That is called actual performance, actually completing the performance in the contract. What do you mean by attempted performance? Any of the party has attempted to perform, but the other party has denied him of such performance. Let's say X and Y have entered into a contract where Y is supposed to come to X's house to paint the house. This was the contract. Let's say it's an oral contract. Now when Y comes actually trying to perform the contract, X is stopping him, asking him not to come to his house for performance. X is trying to stop the performance. So one type of performance is actual performance, another type is attempted performance. He is at least attempting to perform. Other case, when there is a breach of performance, we will discuss in Unit 5 what to do in case of breach of performance. But performance can be classified into two types: actual performance and attempted performance. Now let us discuss the next concept in performance of contract. Who has to do performance in the contract? The promisor himself. I entered into a contract, so I will do the performance. Let's say X and Y enter into a contract where X has promised Y to supply 10 kgs of rice. X himself will supply 10 kgs of rice to Y. Promisor himself is doing the performance of contract. Next, agent, instead of the promisor, his agent can do the performance. X has his legally appointed agent Z. Instead of X, Z can supply the goods to Y. However, cases which involve skill like acting, singing, cooking, etc., where personalized skill of a person is involved, then only the promisor himself can perform. Agent or other parties cannot perform on behalf of the promisor. Legal representative. Let's say X has taken a loan of 1 lakh from State Bank of India. Later, X had died. So the legal representative of X could be X's son or anybody else who is legally appointed as legal representative of X will repay the money to SBI. If question is silent, if no information is given, generally X's son will perform the obligation on behalf of X. So legal representative is another person who can perform the contract. Next, third person. Let's say A had taken a loan of 1 lakh from B. Now, on the due date when A is supposed to repay the 1 lakh to B, he had failed to repay the amount of 1 lakh. B is putting a lot of mental pressure on A. So looking at this, C, who is a friend of A, instead of A, has paid the money to B. Let's say he has paid 70,000 to B. Now, B has accepted this money from C on behalf of A, and hence amount of 70,000 is settled. Later, B can only sue A for the amount of 30,000 and not the entire amount. So a third party voluntarily, instead of the promisor, can perform a contract for the other party B, but B has to accept this performance from the third party. Now let us see what is the case of joint promisor and what are the liabilities for this. Let us understand the concept of joint promisor. Let's say A, B and C together have borrowed 3 lakhs from D. So they have to repay how much? Together they have to repay 3 lakhs to D. What are the different cases that can arise here? First case, all the 3 have equally paid 1 lakh back to D. No issue. Second, they have jointly promised D that they will repay amount of 3 lakhs to D. So A, on behalf of B and C, can execute the performance by repaying 3 lakhs to D. Later, A will recover this money from B and C. Next, let's say among the 3 parties, A is not able to make the payment. A is not able to make the payment. So, entire 3 lakhs will be shared between B and C and they will make the contribution to D and they will later recover it from A or A's legal representatives. Now, if all the 3 parties die, then who will compensate D? Their legal representatives of A, B and C will compensate D for the amount of 3 lakhs. So the crux of this is that they have jointly promised to make the payment to D. Let's say tomorrow D is relieving A of his liability. He is saying A need not pay me the money. I want B and C to pay me the 3 lakhs. So B and C will share 1,50,000 each and make the payment to D. However, A is not relieved of his liability. A's liability against D is relieved, but A still has to compensate his share to B and C. So these are the different cases that can come under joint promisor. Final crux, the conclusion is they have jointly and severally undertaken the liability to compensate D. So this talks about who can perform and what is the concept of joint promisor and liability of joint promisor. Next, let us proceed to understand time and place of performance of a contract, meaning when can you perform a contract, what time should I perform, what place should I perform, if nothing is mentioned in the contract, and if something is mentioned in the contract, should I follow that or not. In the previous section, we have understood who will perform a contract. Now let us see time and place of performance, when to perform. First, no application is made by the promisee, meaning after entering into a contract has been entered. After that, the promisee will not make any application. Will not make any application means he will not keep requesting. He will not request, please perform, when will you perform? No. Once contract is entered, his job is over. The promisor's duty is now to perform. So, no application is made by promisee. No request is made after entering into contract. No time is also specified by him. Then you have to perform at a reasonable time. What do you mean by reasonable time? During business hours. You cannot come in the night at 2 a.m. for performance. It should be done in reasonable hours. No place is specified. He has not specified where to deliver the goods. Then you will deliver the goods at the business location of the promisee. If business location is not there, then you can deliver at the residence of the promisee. So if no place is mentioned, deliver generally at the business location of the promisee. If time is specified, then perform in the time which is specified. If a specific time is specified, they will say come between 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Specify only any time during that time. Lastly, if manner is specified, meaning the promisee has specified set of rules and given some instructions saying you have to come at this time. This is the manner in which you have to perform. If some guidelines and rules are given by the promisee to promisor, then promisor has to follow those rules and perform the contract in the manner specified. So this is about time and place of performance. Fairly simple concept. Let us move to the next concept in this unit. In the previous section, we had discussed about time and place of performance of a contract. Now let us discuss what is reciprocal promise, meaning what do you have to perform in different situations. Let us take one by one. First, when should a party perform? When should the promisor perform his promise? Only when the other party is ready. Let's say, for example, X wants to deliver 10 kgs of rice to Y. Now, X is calling Y and asking, can I come today at 4 p.m. for delivery? Y is saying, no, don't come. Then he cannot perform his promise today. Most of the online orders, the delivery guy calls you asking you, can I come at 4 p.m., can I come at 2 p.m.? You give a consent, yes. Then both the parties are ready. When both the parties are ready, the promisor can perform his promise. Next, order of performance. Who has to perform first? Promisor or promisee? It depends on case to case. For example, let's say you're purchasing online on Flipkart for a cash on delivery order. What is Flipkart's promise? The promisor, he has to deliver the goods. What is my promise? The customer, I have to make the payment. Who will perform first here? Flipkart will deliver the goods to me, and after I receive the goods, I will make the payment, COD. So in this case, order of performance, Flipkart will perform their order first and then I will make the payment. If it's online payment, then I have performed first, I have made the payment, my performance is completed, next Flipkart will do the delivery. So what do you mean by default in reciprocal promise? Let's say X, Y and Z have entered into a contract where X has to do the electrical work in Z's house and Y has to do the painting in Z's house. Now, Y can start his promise painting work only after X completes his electrical work. In this case, if X fails to perform his performance, now can Y do the painting work? No. Painting can start only after electrical work is done. So default in reciprocal promise, where one party is waiting for the other party to complete the work of one party starts after the work of the other party is completed. So Y can start his promise to Z only after X completes his promise. Here, if X fails to do so, then he is liable for compensation. So these are the first three segments in reciprocal promise. Next, one party preventing the other party from performing the service. Let's say X and Y, or let's take a better example, Flipkart COD order. Flipkart is sending goods to Y on cash on delivery. You make the order online, but it's a COD order. Now, whenever Flipkart is coming to deliver, you are saying, I don't want the goods, I will not make the payment. So, one party is preventing the other party. The customer here is preventing Flipkart from making the performance. Therefore, when one party is preventing the other party, the contract is voidable at the option of the person who is the aggrieved party here. Flipkart is the aggrieved party, so contract is voidable at the option of Flipkart. He can cancel the contract or he can also sue the party who is preventing the performance of the contract. Now let us see what is time on essential in contract. Let us understand what is meant by time is essential. In a contract, the promisor can state, I will complete a contract, I will complete my performance within the given time, then time is essential. Let's take an example. Let's take Domino's Pizza is saying, I will deliver pizza within 30 minutes or give it for free. Now, the promisor himself is mentioning that he will give it within 30 minutes or free. So let's say the pizza reaches you within 30 minutes, then the contract is valid, no issue here. If the pizza reaches me after 30 minutes, there are two options. The promisee, the customer here, can claim for compensation because he has promised to deliver within the given time, but he has failed to do so. He can claim for compensation, and that is why Domino's is already giving it for free. Second case, let's say it came in 35 minutes. What do we do as customers? We will waive it off. We will say, it's okay. I will still accept the performance even though they have crossed the time limit they have mentioned. The minute you accept the performance, even though time is essential, then you cannot sue the other party. You cannot sue the other party. Once you accept performance, you cannot sue it. Third case here is, you are saying, it has come after 30 minutes. I will not pay. I will not pay for this. I want compensation, but I will accept the performance. Now, three possible cases. One, time is essential. Performance is not done within the given time. Contract becomes voidable. At whose option? At the customer's option, at the promisee's option. Second case, it happens within the given time, so contract is valid. Third case, it happens after 30 minutes. After the time specified, I can either accept it by waiving the time, or I can accept by claiming a compensation. If you want a compensation, you have to claim when you make an acceptance. After accepting the performance, you cannot ask for compensation. Second case, where time is not essential, promisor has not mentioned anything about time. Time is not essential over here. Now, let's say Flipkart is delivering goods. Usually it takes 7 to 10 working days for delivery. But because of various issues, the good is reached within 15 to 20 days. Can I say the good has come late, therefore I will reject the performance? No. What they are saying is, wherever time is not essential and the promisor has not promised to deliver within a specified time, as long as the performance is done within reasonable time, then you have to accept the performance. 7 to 10 days was supposed to be delivery. You are getting it in double the time, 15 to 20 days, reasonable time, and hence you have to accept the performance. This is about time is essential and time is not essential. When the contract is voidable, it is voidable only when he mentions time is essential and he crosses that time limit. Then you have the option to cancel the contract or accept it along with compensation. Next. When is the contract void? Impossible act. X and Y are entering into a contract where they are saying they can help humans fly without any device just by using magic. Is this possible? No. So, first, at the time of entering into the agreement itself, if the act is impossible, initial impossibility, contract is void. The agreement is void. I am entering into agreement. It is impossible for the event to happen, but both the parties are unaware of such fact. Both the parties are unaware that this is impossible. Even then, the agreement is void. Third, among both the parties, one party knows it is possible. It is possible, and one party knows it is impossible. Meaning, one party believes it is possible. He does not know it is impossible. He is thinking it is possible. The other party knows it is impossible, but he is still entering into a contract. So let's say the promisor knows this act is impossible, but still is entering into a contract with another person for an impossible act. Then the party who is being fooled here, where he does not know it is impossible, can sue the other party for compensation. Why can I sue the other party for compensation? Because the promisor knows it is impossible and he is still entering into the contract. Last one, illegal part in a legal agreement. Let's say X has given Y 1 lakh to do an act. Y is saying he will use this money partly for a legal activity and partly for an illegal activity. Then the legal part of the agreement will be valid and the illegal part of the agreement will be void. So the legal part will be valid and the illegal part will be void. So this is about reciprocal promises. Now let us proceed to the next concept. Let us understand the concept of appropriation of payments. There are three sets here. One, where debt to be discharged is indicated by the party, debt to be discharged is not indicated. In third case, neither of the party appropriates. To understand this, let's take a small example. Let's say A had given loan to B, but A had given several loans. Let's say in 2015 he had given a loan of 1 lakh at 10% interest. In 2017 he had given a loan of 2 lakhs at 15% interest, and 2019 he had given a loan of 50,000 at 17% interest. So A had given the following three loans to B at different dates. Today we are in 2020. Now, assume we are in 2020. Now, how to account for this? Now, let's say in 2020 B has repaid. First, he had just given an amount of 50,000. Let's say he has repaid 50,000. 50,000. Now, B has to inform to A. Debt to be discharged is to be indicated. B has to inform to A, against these three loans, adjust this 50,000 with which loan. So if B is saying adjust this with the third loan in 2019, then he has to adjust with this loan and not any other loan. Debt to be discharged is not indicated. B has just paid 50,000 to A. He has not told anything else. Now it is left to A's option. He can choose against which of these loans he can adjust this 50,000. He can adjust with the 2019 loan, or he can adjust with 2017 loan, or he can adjust with 2015 loan. Obviously, A will adjust with the loan which has lowest rate of interest. So he will adjust with the 2015 loan and make 1 lakh as 50,000. This is second case. Debt to be discharged is not indicated by the party. Here, person who has taken the loan, same can happen in between debtor and creditor. Last one, neither party appropriates. That means B also has not informed anything. A also has not adjusted in his books. In his books, he has to pass an adjustment entry. What will be the adjustment entry? Loan account will be credited and bank account will be debited. Why? He is receiving money from B, so bank account debit. To loan given, it's an advance given, he will credit this now. Against which of these loans he has to pass that entry? If both the parties are silent, then Act says adjust in order of time. Order of time, meaning adjust the first loan. Then if there is any balance, adjust the second loan, 2017 loan, and then adjust the third loan in 2019, irrespective of whether this loan is time barred or not. So even if it is a time barred loan, time barred debt, where 3 years has expired, still if both the parties are silent, then the first loan will be adjusted. Order of time is nothing but FIFO method. So this is about appropriation of payment. Let us proceed to discuss the next concept. Now let us discuss about contracts which need not be performed with consent of both the parties. What do you mean by this? First case talks about novation, recession and alteration. What do you mean by novation? Novation means cancelling the old contract and entering into a completely new contract. For whatever reason, you will cancel the old contract and enter a new contract. Both the parties have to agree for this. Just because one person wants to cancel the contract, it is not possible. Both when the promisor and the promisee accept, old contract will be cancelled and new contract will be created. It is a mode to discharge the contract. Discharging the contract means ending of a contract. Ending a contract. Next, recession. What do you mean by recession of a contract? Cancellation of a contract. You can cancel a contract when both the parties agree mutually. You can also cancel a contract. What do you mean by alteration? I will change the terms and conditions in my existing contract. So I will now end up with a new contract. Point number 2. Promisee may waive or remit the contract. Let's say performance is due. What is the performance? Let's say a singer is supposed to come and sing in a music hall for 15 days. What the singer has done, she has sang for 14 days, but on the 15th day, she is not able to sing because of any health reason. Because of the good relationship the promisor and the promisee has, the event management people still make her the entire payment, but they waive the performance. The 15th day performance will be waived. They are saying it's okay, you have not performed. Both the parties have agreed for this. Restoration of benefit in voidable contract. What do you mean by a voidable contract? We are already seen what is a voidable contract. Voidable contract is a contract where consent is obtained, is not free. So let's say X has threatened Y and purchased this house property for 10 lakhs, which is actually worth 1 crore. Now, if X wants to cancel the contract or if Y wants to cancel the contract, who is the aggrieved party here? Y is the aggrieved party. He obviously has right to cancel the contract or get out of the contract. But X, the other party who entered into the contract by coercion, threatening and buying the land for 10 lakhs, suddenly tomorrow decides, okay, I don't want this contract, I feel bad about what I did. He wants to return the land back to Y. He can return the land and cancel the voidable contract. X will return the land back to Y. Y should also return the 10 lakhs back to X. So, in a voidable contract, if any party received any benefit, whether the benefit is small or big, the benefit has to be returned to the other party. This is just very common and basic. Next, obligation of a person receiving advantage under void contract. Now, in void contract, let's take an example. You book tickets for a movie. You book tickets for a movie. You had paid rupees 300 rupees for one ticket and you had booked around 4 to 5 tickets for your friends. On the date of the movie, it becomes impossible for performance because of floods or any reason. You cannot travel to the theatre and the theatre has also cancelled the show. So contract has become void for any of the reason, impossibility of performance. Let's say the government has passed an order to stop screening of the movie completely. So movie cannot be screened now, impossibility of performance, it has become a void contract. However, receiving advantage, who has received advantage here? The movie theatre received 300 rupees from you for the ticket. So they received some advantage. Now once the contract has become void, what is their obligation? Their duty is to return the 300 rupees back to the customers. So in any void contract, if any party has received a benefit or any advantage, it has to be returned. Communication of rescission, meaning cancellation of a contract. When one party is going to cancel the contract, you cannot say, okay, I am going to cancel the contract and leave it. You need to communicate to the other party. If promisee is cancelling the contract or if promisor is cancelling the contract, they have to communicate to the other party. If communication is not done, rescission is not valid. You have to communicate and the other person has to accept. Effect of neglect of promisee to provide reasonable facilities. What do you mean by this? Very simple. Let's say I am the promisee. I have asked the chef to come to my house on my 25th birthday to prepare meals for my entire family and the guest who is going to attend the birthday party. So the chef is saying, okay, and he is charging me 1 lakh for this because there are going to be around 1000 guests and he is a 5-star chef. I have paid him 1 lakh. Now, he is going to come to my house or the event hall to cook the food. Who is the promisee here? I am the promisee because I invited the chef. Chef is the promisor. He is promising to cook food and give it to me because I am going to make him the payment. Effect of neglect of promisee to provide reasonable facilities. What should I do? When a chef is coming to my house or an event to do cooking, I need to provide him adequate space, provide him all the facilities he requires to provide food for all the people. Now, I tell him, no, I cannot give you anything. You take care and you do it. I don't support him. For him to provide service, I need to support him. If you are not able to support him with reasonable facilities, then the contract will be cancelled. Let us take another small example to understand the last point. A teacher wants to teach a subject to the student. Teacher is ready to teach, but if the student is not going to learn, then the contract will not happen because there is no performance. So this is about contracts which need not be performed with consent of both parties. Now let us proceed to the last segment in Unit 4, which talks about discharge of a contract. What do you mean by discharge of a contract? How does a contract come to an end? When does a contract end? What are the different ways in which contract can end? In the previous section, we understood how a contract will come to end when both the parties give their consent. Now let us see what do you mean by discharge of a contract, meaning end of a contract. We had studied start of a contract is agreement plus essential elements becomes a contract. Then we had seen how to perform a contract. Now we are going to see how a contract comes to an end. Majority of these points we would have already seen in various areas. It is just consolidated in one section. First, discharge by performance. A party has completed performance. X is supposed to sell 10 kgs of rice to Y. X has delivered 10 kgs of rice to Y and Y has made the payment to X. Therefore, performance is completed. Actual performance. We have also seen one more concept of attempted performance. You have attempted to perform but the other person has stopped you. Therefore, contract comes to an end. Next, discharge by mutual agreement. Both the parties have given a consent to end the contract. Example, we had just seen concept of novation, concept of alteration and concept of recession. In all these cases, contract comes to an end. Impossibility to perform a contract. We had also discussed concept of initial impossibility or supervening impossibility. That is, contract was initially valid, but because of circumstances today, you cannot perform the contract. Example, death. In all these cases, contract comes to an end because of impossibility of performance. By lapse of time, there is a contract which is said you have to perform within 10 days. If you don't perform within the specified time mentioned, then the contract comes to end, which is already mentioned in the agreement. Then after the time gets over, contract will end. By operation of law. Example, cases like death, insanity, insolvency of a party. In all these cases, due to operation of law, contract comes to an end. If a person becomes insolvent, all the contracts with that person will become to an end. By breach of contract. In Unit 5, we had discussed what is breach of contract. A party will breach the contract by not performing. It can be actual breach or anticipatory breach. In both these cases, contract comes to an end and next they proceed for remedies. Next, Waive or remit. We had just discussed in the previous section, a party can waive the contract or remit the contract when both the parties consent for the same. We are also seeing this point, effect of neglect of promisee to provide reasonable facilities to the promisor to perform the contract. We had seen the chef example and we had seen the teacher-student example in the previous section, where the promisee is not providing reasonable facilities to the promisor. Last one, which is new, by merger of rights. What do you mean by this? Let's say there is a rental agreement between X and Y, where X is providing the property on rent to Y for 10 years. However, in the 7th year, X offered to sell the property to Y and Y purchased the property in the 7th year. Therefore, the rental agreement has now merged into the sale agreement and both become one, but this is now continuing and the rental agreement comes to an end when it merges with the sale agreement. So this is about discharge of a contract and how contract comes to an end. With this we are ending Unit 4, Performance of a Contract. Thank you.